right, the last couple weekends I've been driving around the car, just around town, getting used to it, taking it to a couple shows. One of the things I've noticed is that the shift mechanism isn't reliably shifting every single time, having to shift really slowly in order to get it into gear. And I think that's all because of some of the adjustments that are needed in the mechanism, and also because I underestimated the over travel that is needed to appropriately get the vehicle into gear each and every time and to allow me to do some quick shifts. So we're going to be installing some aftermarket parts, specifically the Cobb shift system that's been developed for the Focus ST and Focus RS. So here we go with an install of those components. All right, here we have the 6-speed shifter plate. I had that CNC machined. You can see that we're pretty much at the limits of what the console allows us to have for shifter throws. I could make it a little bit more throws in one direction, but not really in the other direction. We're up at the edge of the console. So hopefully what we're going to achieve is, by keeping the throws the same up here and putting on a short shift kit at the transmission, we're going to have this lever move just as much, but hopefully have the lever at the transmission move a little bit more, so that we can get into all the gears more repeatably. And then while we're doing that, we're also going to install some of the other aftermarket parts that are available for the Focus ST and Focus RS to make it a more precise or crisp shift. I decided to go with the Cobb shift system improvements. So we have 3 different parts from Cobb. We have the shift cable bracket bushings. These replace the rubber bushings with a different durometer, higher durometer plastic, so that the shift cable bracket doesn't move as much. We have the adjustable shift plate. So this has 20%, 30%, 40% throw reductions. So that should help get the transmission moving into gear in the allowable space we have in the tunnel in the shift plate, as well as the shift cable bushings. These replace the rubber bushings on the shift cable with a higher durometer part that's stiffer. So again, all 3 of these parts should make more travel, more repeatable travel at the transmission end of the shift system to hopefully get the Lambo into gear faster, more repeatably than it currently is. So unlike in a Focus ST, Focus RS, the shift linkage is rather buried underneath my cooling hoses. So it's going to be kind of difficult to access everything. All right, we're able to get access to the shifter assemblies. One of them is quite buried underneath the intercooler. When I designed this, didn't necessarily think about trying to get good access to the shifter cable bracket. Got the shifter cables accessible now. These 3 bushings on the shifter bracket are getting replaced with the Cobb stiffer durometer parts. All right, the old squishy bushings are out. The new Cobb inserts are in. Gonna put it back in the car. The new bushings are installed and the bracket is in the car. All right, moving on to the installation of the adjustable shift plate. I'm going to be setting it at the 30% reduction setting. Let's give that a shot. All right, step 2 complete. Have the new adjustable Cobb plate on the rod. And most importantly, it seems to clear the intercooler bracket. Next step is to pull the snap feature out of the original cable and insert the Cobb shifter bushings. So using the scraper, I was able to break off one of the flange, and then the bushing pushes out. After using the scraper to get the green retainer out of the carrier, here's the bushing, the original bushing. After using the diagonal pliers and the vice grips, I was able to create all this shrapnel to get the bushing out. For the second bushing, I found it a little easier to use a wider scraper. I was able to get in under the lip a little easier, and just a couple pries was able to pop the lip off, and then this bushing slid right off. And using diagonal cutters, just make some big gouges in it, and then start breaking the piece apart. Once the wide lip comes off, I was able to get the diagonal cutters onto the inside lip and make some incisions. Starting to get close to the green retainer down there. And once you've made about 3 or 4 cuts in that surface, you can easily get to the retainer. Still need to cut this a little bit to allow it to slide out. One last series of cuts with the diagonal pliers and it should slide right out. All right, it popped right out after trimming down the retainer carrier a little bit. And then the bushings slide right in there. A little bit of Loctite from the kit, and then you reassemble them. The instructions say use a 27mm wrench. Of course I didn't have to, but 1 1/16 works just fine. All right, pop the shifter cable back on and made the adjustment, and it seems to be shifting a little more precisely. Looking at how everything sits in the shift gate. Before I was bottoming out to get it into gear. Now we are less than bottoming out. We've got a little bit of extra travel. We've got some over travel, which is good. And the same thing up here, got a little bit of over travel. Same thing there. Same thing there. So I think I'm going to leave it with that 30% throw reduction, because everything seems to be working out pretty good.